boys. What a massive win Saturday night for the Wolves. Just when everybody was predicting that it was going to be a Lakers sweep, Lakers in 5, Lakers in 6, Lakers in 7, the Wolves come out and just thrash the Lakers in Los Angeles in front of a national TV audience. Adam Silver and the refs went home unhappy because of how the Wolves played this one. Let's go around the horn here. I want to start this off because we talked last week. We did a little preview on how we expected this series to go, and there was a lot of Wolves in 7, Wolves in 7, Wolves in 6. Will, you were Lakers in 6, I believe. So let's go around the horn. Nolan, I'll start with you, then Joe, Will, then Tony. Have your expectations for this series changed after just one game? We'll start there, Nolan.
Yeah, I would say perhaps a little bit, but I don't know that I am fully ready to say it's going to be a Wolves sweep or anything like that. I think they could probably get it done a little sooner maybe than I thought. Just because even though I like them in this matchup, I thought it would be a little bit different than what we saw Saturday night, but watching that game, I think they did a lot of things that they can do again, even though, you're hearing a lot of they're not going to shoot 50% from three again. Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid are not going to play like that again. I think they can with how much attention they're going to have to give to Edwards, or they can play honestly and Edwards can just kind of take over. So I think the Wolves could probably do it in 5 or 6. I don't know if I'd be ready to say that it's going to be that. I think it still could be a series. I don't think LeBron will have a game like he did in game one. And I think I would actually pick the Lakers probably to come back and win game two here. But I do still feel pretty comfortable that the Wolves are going to win this series. And I think they might be able to do it a little bit quicker. But I wouldn't count out the Lakers, especially LeBron is not going to have whatever 19, 3, and 5, whatever he had last. I think that he's going to have a much bigger game here in game two. Um, and I think they'll make it a series, but I just don't think they're going to be able to beat the Wolves. I think the Wolves really showed that they're the better team.
Joe?
Yeah, I think Minnesota's mentality is on point right now. There's no cockiness. It's just kind of let's watch and see what happens. It's almost like a confident arrogance to them. They've been here, they've done that. They kind of know who they are now. They like that the rest of the world is saying, "Yeah, Lakers are going to win this series," and they came out and just throat stomped an LA team that most people thought were going to roll through Minnesota. And that's just the disrespect you get when you are here in Minnesota. You can be the biggest superstar in the world, the greatest player in the world, and get compared to Michael Jordan, have the deepest roster in the NBA with sharpshooters all over the place and a 4-time defensive player of the year in Rudy Gobert. You can have all of that. You can have a great head coach who knows offensive game plans, who knows how to play the Lakers. You can have age going against the Lakers. You can have all of the metrics and data of the last 20, 25 games, say the Wolves are a superior team and it doesn't matter. Hollywood's going to say Hollywood's going to roll. And that's just not what happens. So I think Minnesota, as long as they don't come in cocky, they're going to probably do more of the same type of damage they did in game one on Tuesday night in game two. Now, I don't think they're going to hit 21 threes and just go bonkers from deep like that again. It'll probably be a closer game. But I think everybody has to understand that Luka magic existed in game one. Luka was hitting a half quarter at the end of the third quarter. He was on fire in the first quarter. He was outstanding. He was the only piece that was working for the Lakers. Austin Reeves did nothing. Rui Hachimura was hitting threes. That was weird. I was like, where's this coming from? I mean, that first quarter, you're watching Minnesota fall behind, and it feels like the Lakers are swelling and dominating. But then you look at the scoreboard, and it's like a 6 or 7 point game. And all season long, whenever the Wolves can take a team's best punch like that, they end up dominating the rest of the game. I've seen it so many times, and I think that's exactly what happened in game one on Saturday night. And this whole thing with Luka and the Magic, it's real. He's phenomenal, and he's a foul merchant, and he cries, and I can't stand the look on his face when he's begging for fouls, but he's going to get them. The only way the Wolves don't come back to Minnesota with a 2-0 lead is if the NBA says, and I'm serious because this stuff is real, just like Dallas is going to get the number 1 overall pick, conspiracy theory, Cooper Flag, this is what's going to happen. the refs are going to be really easy on the whistle with the Wolves. They're going to be blowing that thing all night long, kind of like they did in game one for the most part, outside of late game take fouls and whatnot. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rudy and Jay in the first or second quarter, and we're going to have some problems. And if the Wolves can overcome that, like they did in game one, they're going to be fine. But rest assured, the NBA wants this series 1-1 and not, having a potential sweep on their hands like Phoenix last year. There's just too much money in LA, and the conspiracy monster will roar and be true.
Will, you are the only one of us who picked the Lakers. Have your expectations changed for this series?
Yeah, just to be clear, my heart has been saying Wolves in 5 since the moment that this series was announced. My head and not
No
wanting
way.
all of us in our Timberwolves on SI article to pick the Wolves said, let me go Lakers in 7. It wasn't 6. I said Lakers in 7.
Okay.
I do think, having watched game 1, that I am even more like my head is now meeting up with my heart a little bit, which could be dangerous. But the way the Wolves played in that game, like, yes, they're not going to hit 21 threes every night, but I think there's a lot of sustainability to the quality of the looks that they were able to get. They weren't hitting all of these ridiculously contested shots. These were open looks. They have a lot of proven, consistent, high volume, high efficiency shooters on their team, with Ant and Randall doing drive and kick stuff, transition. Like, there were a lot of encouraging signs for the Wolves. And then Chris Finch said they also left some meat on the bone. Rudy Gobert didn't do a whole lot. Dante and Nikhil, I think, were like 2 for 11 from 3. Ant was 8 of 22 for 22 points. He can score more than that. He was really, really good as a playmaker, rebounder, all of those things. But there are ways for the Wolves to get other people to step up on any given night, that I think is really encouraging. With that said, LeBron James now 32 and 24 all time in game ones, which, like, playing in 56 playoff series is ridiculous. But and when his team loses game 1 in the previous 23, his teams are still 12 and 11 in advancing. Now, this isn't prime LeBron going against East teams, but he has kind of a history of feeling things out in game 1 and then playing a lot better. So I would caution anybody from just thinking the Wolves are going to run away with this thing. But like Nolan said, I do think that they are the better team. I think they're the deeper team. And if they can steal game 2, that would be huge to really up their chances of advancing out of this round.
Tony?
Yeah, I think my biggest question after game 1 is, are we seeing the decline of LeBron James? He is 40 years old, and I think it's fair to assume he might not be as dominant in the playoffs as he once was. I expect we see something better from him in game 2, obviously, but there's no reason to think otherwise. But if he comes out and has a similar game, I think the Wolves could totally steal game 2 as well, like Joe mentioned. But yeah, it just last year in the Mavericks series, a lot of the stuff that made Luka so tough to guard was the lobs to Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, and the Lakers just don't have that versatility on both ends of the floor, and I think we saw that in game 1. And there was just a lot of matchup perspective stuff that you can leave with a positive outlook after that game. And there's a lot of pressure on the Lakers in game 2, and I fully expect them to come out with a better effort, but it's just there's a lot to like from the Wolves after that game.
They played Jackson
Lakers aren't
for
good.
8 minutes. They got no.
Yeah, because he's not a playoff caliber big.
No,
like the Lakers got off to that great start. They're grabbing all these offensive rebounds, and I'm thinking, man, what is going on here? This isn't right. And then that just disappeared because Minnesota locked in. Whatever it was, nerves or just being out of position, something clicked, and they roared. I mean, that was a freaking dominant performance. At one point, I think they finished the game on a 110 to 80 run. Yeah, I think that's right, because it was 15 or like 18 or 20 to 7 or something like that. The Lakers got off to a quick start. 15 to 7 it was. A 110 to 80 run. And at one point it was like 70 to 33. They just went freaking bonkers. Lakers, they don't have the matchup with the Wolves. Magic Johnson's going on Twitter and writing the most formal sentences of all time. The Los Angeles Lakers do not match up well with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is going to be a long series if LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and the rest of the team don't play better. And it's like, okay, this is where we are. Lakers, you understand what you're up against. This is no joke. This is a very serious basketball team in the playoffs. And they let everybody down all season long with a lot of unserious performances. 10 unacceptable losses I counted over the course of the season. It might have been 11 by the end. I don't know. But man, they play up to the competition, and they are freaking scary. And everybody should fear this team right now.
So when you look at game 2 coming up Tuesday night, Wolves have the 1-game lead now after a 117-95 blowout of the Lakers in game 1. Tony, when you look at game 2, what do the Wolves need to do other than just repeat their performance, which is obvious? What do they need to do to keep this going? What do we expect to see changing from the Lakers coming up in game 2?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to just say, like you said, play like you did in game 1, but I think it's trying to get LeBron, like defending him the same way you did in game 1. He just wasn't that effective, and it made, I think, the Lakers pretty one dimensional with just Luka. And I think if they're able to do that again, it's just the Timberwolves are a deeper team. They have more options. They have more things you can throw at opponents defensively. And I think if they keep relying on their depth, and maybe we see a better game from Na or a better game from DiVincenzo. And it just, my biggest takeaway was they're just the better team. I don't know how you can leave that game and think that the Lakers can come back in the series, personally.
Nolan?
I'm gonna say it's the biggest thing is gonna be how they react to what the Lakers change. I think depending on what that is, whether it's they try to defend more honestly because they got killed by Nas Reed. Well, in that case, it's going to be Edwards instead of. The question was whether he's going to be able to play make. Is he going to be able to read the game the right way, attack the rim, if that's what they're giving him? It's just going to be responding to what the Lakers try to do. I think if the Wolves are playing well, playing their best, I don't think the Lakers can take away everything. They're going to have to pick and choose what they want to take away. So if they want to take away Edwards' driving lanes, there's going to be a whole lot of open shots. If they want to take away the shooting from like Nas and Jaden and everybody who's hitting shots, then they're going to have to defend Edwards more honestly, which isn't going to help them either. So I think it's just how they react to what the Lakers try to change. I would expect a lot more LeBron. He really just he didn't have the ball a lot. He wasn't a huge factor in game 1, so I'd expect a lot more LeBron. So they're really going to have to defend him again, similarly to how they did with Julius and Ant, and make sure to not get in foul trouble. I think one thing too is Rudy got in foul trouble early and didn't play a whole lot of minutes. If they can try to take advantage of that size a little bit more in game 2, I think that could be something where if they're not hitting 21 threes, they will have a lot of size advantage and be able to take a lot of control over the Lakers in that way too. So I think it's just going to be able to respond and make the right reads, right decisions based on what the Lakers are trying to throw at them, because they're going to have to change up a lot in game 2, obviously, after that first one.
Will, what do you expect to see changed in game 2?
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers, the first thing that they said after this game, JJ Redick, LeBron, Luka Doncic, they need to be a lot more physical. They felt like they weren't physically ready for that game and didn't kind of match the Wolves' intensity level. So I think, make no mistake, that they are going to come out fired up in game 2, and they are going to be bringing the physicality. And the Wolves have to do what they did in game 1 and rise to meet that as well. So the nice thing for the Wolves, I think, and Nolan kind of mentioned this, is they have a lot of options for how they can adjust based on the way the game is going. If the Lakers want to play Jackson Hayes more than 8 minutes and go big a little bit, then the Wolves can play Rudy more, and he can have a bigger impact on the game than he did in game 1. If the Lakers want to keep playing small, then you keep putting the Nas and Julius lineups out there, and you really try to hunt them in transition and do what you did in game 1. And I think we could see Anthony Edwards scoring more. Anthony Edwards missed a good number of shots at the rim that he doesn't often miss. He hasn't been the most efficient finisher at the rim this year or in his career by any means, but he can make those. He can certainly score the ball at a higher level than what we saw in game 1, which we've seen all season. So, Dante could get going. I really have a feeling Dante DiVincenzo is going to swing a game in these playoffs by hitting 6 or 7 threes like Naz Reid just did in game one. So they have depth. They have a lot of guys who can step up. But the Lakers are not going to go down easy. LeBron James has been the best basketball player in the world for basically my entire lifetime. I'm expecting him to come back and have a very strong performance in game two.
Joe, when you look at the numbers and you see how this game played out, Jaden McDaniel leading the team in points on the night, probably rather unexpected based off what he did during the regular season. Should we expect more of this, or do the Wolves need more of this from Jaden, the offensive side of his game, to be able to keep going toe to toe with the Lakers and go on an extended run in the playoffs?
No, they don't need that from Jaden. I mean, it's nice when they get it. I mean, if Jaden wants to shoot 11 for 13, score 25, and play elite defense and knock down a bunch of threes, great. Fantastic. I think you're going to see LA try to slow this thing down a lot because Minnesota came out and was transition-minded all night long, and that's where LA got absolutely slaughtered. I think John Krasinski pointed out how Minnesota wasn't a great transition team all season, so it was a surprise to see them with that approach. And I think Chris Finch did a little bit of surprise coaching there, and JJ Redick and company weren't ready for what hit them. So I think Redick and company now know it's going to be coming at them again, and they'll try to slow the game down and get to the free throw line a ton. I mean, as lopsided as the foul distribution was over the course of game one, there weren't a lot of fouls that led to a lot of LA free throws. So I think you're going to see 30-plus free throws for the Lakers. And if Jaden scores 25, great. But the real challenge is going to be staying out of foul trouble because those officials are going to be hunting Minnesota players to get LA back in this series. I don't care what you tell me. Everybody's unbiased and all that. That's not true. That's all false. There's a lot of money in this. This is basically scripted. So Minnesota's got a lot to overcome in game number two. And I think they're good enough to do that. I mean, LA could get to the free throw line 30 times and Minnesota could still beat them. That's how good the Wolves are. But I don't think it's going to be a fair fight. I really don't in game number two. So if Jaden steps up and hits 11 out of 13 shots again or something even similar to that, that'll be a key to, coming away with a 2-0 series lead, going back to Minnesota looking for the sweep over the weekend.
All right, let's go a little bit unscripted here ourselves. Nolan, talk me into, I'm going to steal this game from Matthew Collar. Talk me into this being a sweep for the Wolves.
And this being a sweep. Well, I think if you're going that route, and for the record, I don't think this will be a sweep because of who's on the other end, LeBron and Luka. But if I were to talk you into it being a sweep, it would be the defensively, they have the personnel to match up with the Lakers. I think this is a better defensive matchup than the Mavericks last year because of one, like somebody, I think it was Will who mentioned the bigs, or Tony who mentioned the bigs. Lakers don't have a big. Luka had 1 assist in game one. He had 1 assist. And so he's just going to have to score on his own. Jaden is as good of a defensive matchup as you can have. They have lots of guys they can throw at LeBron, from Julius to Nas to Ant. I think just they match up well defensively. And then I would say too, the Lakers just can't stop anything. Like, they could try to take away one thing. They could try to take away Ant. That's going to give you what you got in game one. If you try to play more honestly, Ant can go off for 40. So I just don't think they have a way of defending the Wolves. I think the Wolves have a way of defending them. And if it's a sweep, it's going to be because of that.
I like it. Joe, your response to that? Can the Wolves make this a sweep?
Well, the Pope died, and I think that, Jesus and God maybe will bring some balance to this planet finally. And with that, I hope that means the Lakers will get a dose of reality. There are spirits on the side of this Minnesota Timberwolves team. I really believe that. It's time to punt out the teams that were gifted superstars, Luka Doncic. The reality is they don't deserve to win this series like Minnesota does. The Lakers, born in Minneapolis, have won all of these titles. They've been blessed with the gods of the game for a long time. And then when you get gifted Luka Doncic, maybe it's time that karma slaps back and the Pope's death sparks some sort of vengeance for the rest of the world, us suffering here in the bold north. It's very possible that could happen. And you have to understand that there are things at large beyond our consciousness, beyond our understanding, that could come into play this series. And if the Wolves are going to sweep, that may have to happen. Because if it doesn't, it's rigged, boys. And this thing is definitely not going to be a sweep. The refs will hand this thing to the Lakers for at least a Game 5 or a Game 6. I still think the Wolves are good enough to overcome these demonic presences. But in the end, that's what it'll require.
So your summary of the series is the refs are going to be trying to give the Lakers a series, but the spirits and higher powers are going to be fighting back against the refs on behalf of the Wolves.
It's divine intervention, Will. This is what we're calling it. Divine intervention.
You don't go into the reptilians' backyard and try to win 2 games in LA, okay? Because they all live underground out there.
All right.
Well, good luck following that up. That's on you.
From a basketball perspective, which is what's interesting to me in this series, the basketball. I think actually this is not completely basketball related, but I think that the Wolves have kind of an atmosphere advantage. Like if you watch Game 1, and then I was watching playoff basketball all weekend, the Lakers don't have a great home court advantage. Like there's a lot of just kind of expensive suits, I think, in these seats, and various celebrities like Jack Black and who else? Joe Burrow was there, and Ant said after, like, I've played in Denver, man. Denver's tough. That wasn't really anything. So I think that is one reason why the Wolves might just be able to go in and steal Game 2 and then come home and Target Center after last year's playoffs is going to be absolutely rocking. I think that's a real thing to some degree in sports, that home court element that the Wolves are going to have and the Lakers don't seem to have really at all. So, I mean, we'll see if that makes a difference, but I think the big thing is the basketball, the Wolves 1 through 8 have 8 guys who can go off. I mean, Conley and Gobert to lesser extents because there's only so much ceiling on what they're going to do offensively, but 6 guys at least who can really, really go off for 20, 25 points on any given night. And the Lakers have 3 of those. And I just think that kind of depth, that kind of optionality, the ability to adjust to whatever is happening in the game, provided that Chris Finch actually makes those adjustments, I think it favors the Wolves. And I still think in my head that this is going to be a 6 or 7 game series, but my heart is fully leaning in on Wolves in 5, or for this argument, even Wolves in 4, perhaps.
Tony, round us out. Can the Wolves make it a sweep?
Yeah, I think they can, honestly. This whole conversation's making me lean that way, that it's definitely a possibility. I think what's interesting that really no one's brought up this whole series was the Lakers almost they did trade for Mark Williams, and then they got rescinded because of a physical, I believe. But I think they're badly missing him in this series. If they had him, I think they'd match up much better with the Wolves. And it just, like, obviously they have Luka Doncic, they have LeBron, and they have the evil spirits, like Joe said. But
that's right.
They are the Lakers, so it's fair to assume they're going to have a better Game 2. But it's just, if you're going straight off the eyeball test, the Timberwolves look like a better team. They match up way better. And the Lakers just have a lot of questions to answer heading into this Game 2. And if it's a close game, if the Wolves steal it, it's wide open for them to steal the sweep.
All right, there's been a lot of positivity, rightfully so, after a 22-point blowout in the first game. Let's bring it down to earth a little bit. Let's delve into our Minnesota sports psychology here a little bit. Joe, why was this Game 1 win by the Wolves a mirage? Why is it all going to come crashing down?
I go to therapy. This doesn't work.
That's why I'm going to make you do this, because you say you can't. Why was this a mirage? Why are the Lakers going to come back and win 4 straight?
I'm literally reading a book right now. It's called Self-Therapy, and it talks about the internal family system, which we all have in our brains, and this is going to be a mind bleep for you. But listen.
Buckle up, boys.
If you're feeling a lot of rage about something somebody did to you, or a lot of sadness, that could be a protector, a different version of yourself that's locked in your brain that doesn't know that it's 2025, or an exile, that weak, worthless feeling. That's a lot of Minnesotans. We suffer. The exile experienced the trauma as a child, right? But it never, ever was able to feel it truly. It was just sad. There was never a correction. They weren't able to heal. So if you close your eyes, guys, and you find your third eye, which is located right about here, it's your pineal gland. It's your pineal gland. It's real. It's calcified over for most of us, but as you meditate and you uncalcify that little bitch, you're going to find a path to self-discovery. And your sense of self is loving, compassionate, trusting, understanding. You will actually be able to feel empathetic for somebody else's feelings. So, Jonathan, as you sit here and panic about the Lakers and past Minnesota traumas and Gary Anderson and Blair Walsh and Shaq and Sam Cassell's groin, you are experiencing the exile's wounds, but your sense of self knows that it's not 2004. It is, in fact, 2025, not 2025. That'd be way into the future. But, guys,
You really dove into the mind's eye there. Wow.
I'm telling you right now, we are okay. We have Anthony Edwards. He's Michael Jordan's son, Jimmy Butler's cousin, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley. The list goes on and on and on. Luka Doncic can cry all he wants, but this is not Kobe Shaq. This is the first round where the better team is a lower seed. Trust in what you see. The eye test, like Tony mentioned, is very, very real and very, very accurate. Behold that inner strength. Tell the exile that you understand why it feels that way, but you're here to protect it, and it's going to be okay. And those are the options and the pathways to healing the traumatized Minnesota sports mind.
I just want to point out, I'm not panicking. I'm just asking the question for question's sake, just putting it out there. And like my shirt says, I believe in Joe Henry, but this time I believe in the Timberwolves in 4 or 5 because I was the one who picked Wolves in 5 in our predictions. Yeah. So going back to this experiment here, Will, why was Game 1 a mirage? Why are the Lakers going to come back and win this?
I think being apprehensive does not necessarily have to be about citing the 1998 Vikings or the 2009 Vikings or the 2004 Timberwolves. It can just be about citing the 2024-25 Timberwolves, who have been a streaky roller coaster ride of it's so over and we're so back, one after another. And they did finish the season very strong, 17-4, I think, over the last 21. The schedule helped out a bit there, but I just think anybody who's like watched one game against the Lakers and is convinced in their head that this is going to be Wolves in 4, Wolves in 5, with no questions asked. I don't know if you've been watching the Timberwolves all season. I don't know if you watched that Bucks game. I don't know if you watched a lot of the losses that they had all year. We'll see what happens. I do think that the Wolves look like the better team, but we're talking about Luka Doncic. We're talking about LeBron James, who's going to be a lot better. We're talking about Austin Reeves, who didn't do a whole lot in Game 1. I think is going to be a lot better in Game 2. They got Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith. These guys shoot 40% from 3. This is not a scrub Lakers team that is going to roll over. I don't think that there's any real world where they come back and win the next 4. I think the Wolves are too talented for that. But this absolutely can still go 6 or 7, and I think Game 2 is going to be critical. If the Wolves can, and the Wolves kind of can play loose and free, and you want to take one of 2 on the road. Usually, that's the idea going into a series. But if they can really put the pressure on the Lakers, and maybe get a lead and try to get the Lakers to tighten up a little bit, if they can win that Game 2, you can really take a commanding lead in this series. If the Lakers are able to bounce back and win Game 2, then it goes back to kind of being anybody's game.
Tony, why shouldn't we lean too much and get too excited about what we saw in Game 1?
Yeah, I think it begins and ends with LeBron James. If he did not play like LeBron James in Game 1, and if he plays like LeBron James the rest of the series, I think the Lakers can come back. But he is 40 years old, so greatest basketball player ever or not, it's really hard to keep producing at his age. And I think it begins and ends with him. If he turns it around and starts playing like prime LeBron, the Lakers can come back. And if he plays like 40-year-old,
he might be a first-team All-NBA selection this year, just to be clear. Like,
Yeah,
He is not.
that is true. I am kind of talking like he's past the hill, which is not
He's
true.
at
but-
he's at worst going to be second team. It's him and Ant and Donovan Mitchell and maybe like Cade Cunningham are in the mix for that last first team All NBA spot. But yes, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and the playoffs are a different ballgame, so maybe we're seeing that, but I think we'll see an improved LeBron James, and then that'll help the Lakers, I think, have a better performance in Game 2 and the rest of the series.
Nolan?
Yeah, I agree a lot with Tony. I think the Wolves are a better team all the way around. I don't think there's any question about that. They're deeper. I think they match up better. And I know this was almost 10 years ago now, but LeBron has beat the greatest team, best regular season record in NBA history when he was down 3-1 in the NBA Finals. So the difference is if LeBron plays like LeBron, he can beat anybody. He can beat the better team. And he's right now got the best teammate he's ever had in his career in Luka Doncic. And he's played with Dwayne Wade and Kyrie Irving. So I think if LeBron, it's all going to be depending on how LeBron plays. I think the only way the Lakers win this series is if what
You did not. You did not just say that he has the best teammate of his career
he
in
has the
Luka.
best teammate
No
of his career.
defense, Doncic.
He has the best
That
teammate of
is-
his career. The
I
only
would-
one you
Dwayne
can make
Wade
an
is-
argument for is D Wade.
Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving. Come on. Luka
No,
doesn't play
Luka's-
defense.
Luka's better than Kyrie.
Luka's a 5 consecutive first team All NBA guy at what, like 25.
I don't care about that.
He's
Kyrie's,
better than 2012 Dwayne Wade.
yeah,
I'd
Luka
say
ain't
he's
going to be winning
averaged
any
the
titles.
second most points ever in the playoffs by any player.
Yeah, I don't care about that. He doesn't play defense. The guy's a sieve. I mean, come on.
You know, he actually, if you look at the numbers, he contested more shots than anybody on the Lakers did in Game 1.
And maybe that was
Yes,
their
because the
problem.
Wolves attacked him. The Wolves said, look at that guy. He sucks at defense. Let's go at him. And that's how you get a lot of contests. When you
And
get
then
your
when
ass
the
beat.
Lakers went on that like stretch, when they're 18-3 or whatever, they had like the best defensive rating in the NBA over that after
That
the
wasn't
Luka trade.
that wasn't because of Luka Doncic. It was probably
I'm
because
not
they were
saying he's
playing
a
a
great
bunch of
defender,
losers.
but I'm saying he is the best teammate LeBron has ever had.
Man,
and so
you're
even
nuts.
if LeBron
No
has
way.
lost a couple
With all due
snaps-
respect. With all due respect. You are
I don't
crazy.
think there's anybody that's particularly close, honestly.
There's the only
Dwayne
argument
Wade?
to be made is Wade. That's the only argument, and Luka's better than Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade was very good. He also was not anywhere close to Luka Doncic's level as a playmaker, scorer, unstoppable force. Unstoppable force.
Oh
Did
my
Dwayne Wade
God.
win the MVP?
Dwayne Wade is basically Michael Jordan light. This is insane. Insane.
Dwayne Wade was the second best shooting guard of his era.
Dwayne Wade
Well, he
was
played with Kobe.
he peaked
Bryant.
before
Yeah.
he peaked before he played with LeBron James. He was a very, very good player. He's not Luka Doncic.
Thank God he's not. He's Luka. Look, oh my God.
Dwayne Wade in his career was first team All NBA twice, in 2009 and in 2010.
Yeah, that's because he played with Kobe at the same time. Kobe was first team All NBA like 10 times.
There's
15
multiple
times.
guard spots. Luka
Oh,
Doncic is
yeah,
playing
okay.
with some very, very good players as well. I watched Dwayne Wade. I'm old enough to remember Dwayne Wade. Luka Doncic
You guys
is
are
better.
You guys, your taste buds. I'll tell you, the younger generation, you just love the box score. It's like you see the 30, then 9 and 7, and you're like, wow, that guy's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's
but you
really
totally
impactful when you do
discount the
things
fact
like
that he sucks at defense. It's like the same people who think Malik Beasley deserves to be a finalist for the sixth
You're
man
not going to
award.
gaslight me into thinking that this isn't like the consensus, by the way. If we talk to
There
NBA
is
people, writers, GMs,
No.
coaches,
No.
that they would take prime Luka over prime Dwayne Wade. I don't think that'd be a huge debate.
That is absolutely insane. And this is why I'm
Maybe
right
I'm
about
wrong.
everything. And
Maybe
you
I'm
guys are
wrong.
wrong about everything.
I don't
It's
think
not,
I'm wrong.
It's not insane at all.
I don't think
Yes,
I'm
it
wrong.
is.
If you're starting a team from scratch, you can draft both players in their prime. Everybody
Dwayne
would take
Wade.
Luka.
30
No.
GMs would take Luka, and I don't think they'd think about
No.
it for very. Dwayne
There's-
Wade was
there's
a
maybe-
great number 2.
The only one,
Okay.
the only GM who would take Dwayne Wade is probably Nico Harrison. Nico Harrison would probably take Dwayne Wade, but
You
beyond
just
that,
said
everybody else is taking Luka.
Dwayne Wade was a great number 2. Oh
Okay,
my
06 Dwayne
God.
Wade was a number 1 for sure. He shot 180 free throws in the finals against Dallas, but when he played with LeBron James, to be clear, he was a very good number 2.
Well, yeah, he's playing with God. What do you want him to do? It's like Moses is very good, but God was a little better. So what do you want him to do? I mean, it's it's weird. The Pope died. The Pope died. Okay, so I was feeling those vibes, waiting for that white smoke to come up. By the way, there's a prophecy about the last Pope, and that means the end of the world could be coming in 2027. And if you add up all the bleep in the world today, it starts to make a little sense.
On that note, let's go around the horn quickly here because we got to wrap this up.
Wait. My God.
That'll be a topic for another day. We'll do that video later on. Quickly around the horn, your prediction for this series now that you've seen one game played. Nolan, Joe, Will, Tony.
I'll shave off a game. I'll say Wolves instead 6 instead of Wolves in 7. I think they'll probably drop game 2 here in LA. It'll be a split. I think the Lakers win game 5 in LA and the Wolves come back and close it out at home, win game 6.
Joe?
Wolves in 6. Yeah. I think the Lakers probably take game number 2 just because the refs will steal it, and then Wolves win 2 at home. Lakers win 1 more to force a 6, and there you go. Back to Minnesota to close it out. No problem.
Will, then Tony.
I'll go Wolves in 6. I like that.
Tony?
I'll go Wolves in 5. I think the Wolves oddly win game 2, and then the Lakers randomly win one in Minneapolis.
Tony joining the Wolves in 5 crowd. Sticking with my Wolves in 5 until otherwise.
I've lost all respect for this whole room, this whole platform, your entire generation. This is
Did you
ridiculous.
watch what Luka did in game 1 there?
Yeah, he got his ass
Phenomenal.
beat.
He had nobody. He had no help. He had no help at all.
Yeah, and then guess what? The Wolves played 5-on-4 on the other end of the floor, and they whooped the shit out of the Lakers. Sorry for the curse.
I can't believe you watched Wolves Mavs series last year and are
You want to know why that was a tough series? Because of Kyrie Irving, Derek Lively, and
Derek
Daniel,
Lively and
What?
Derek Lively. Look at his
The
numbers
reason
this
the
year.
Wolves lost.
Derek Lively is Jackson Hayes this year without the greatest playmaker in basketball right now outside of
Derek Lively was injured all year, and if that team would have held together
Derek
and Nico
Lively is
Harrison
horrible.
hadn't blown
He
it up.
scored like 4 points in the playing game. He is worthless without Luka Doncic.
Yeah, everybody's worthless without Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving.
That's my argument. That's my argument.
No. But if you put Kyrie and Dwayne Wade on the same team, it'd be the same damn thing, but better, because they'd play defense.
That would be redundant as hell. And there's
No,
two
it
smallish
wouldn't.
guards.
Listen to me.
Anyways,
Listen
we
to
gotta-
me.
we gotta go.
Kyrie
we
Luka
can
is
agree
more
to disagree on this
dangerous.
one.
We'll keep
Kyrie
this
Luka
going
is more dangerous
off
than LeBron Luka, and I'm telling you that Mavericks
That's
team
a
was
separate-
elite. They ran
That's a separate.
into a
argument,
great
I would say.
Boston team. But if you think Luka Doncic is better than Dwayne Wade, you need to go to a sports therapist and really look at the old highlights and watch the YouTube, look at the numbers. Oh my God.
We got to put out
This
a poll
is-
on
I'm really
I
offended
think we
right
should
now.
put out a poll on our Twitter.
Let's
Go ahead. Put out a
All
poll on the Twitter.
All right. We'll do that.
All right.
Go hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. More of this kind of content coming up later this week. We got plenty to talk. We'll be back with the draft
NFL
preview
draft.
at some point this week because that is coming up in a big day on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Looking forward to that. We'll be back on the channel with that. So hit subscribe. You'll get notified every time we post a new video, and it
One
does
thing.
help us get found.
One thing, can we do an Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins video at some point this week? Because y'all know Minnesota's going to have one of them. So
Let's
let's
save
get
that for
there
next
this
week post draft when people want to talk what the season, what the roster build is. After we see what they do in the draft, and you can add
Okay.
more to your conspiracy theory chart.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll do that.
That might be a Jonathan and Joe video.
Oh, you're coming, baby. You're on that one.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.